The moment has already passed. You think you're still evaluating. You're not. Your position was weakened the instant you accepted a pattern without checking how small the sample was. Most people believe they're reacting to evidence. They're reacting to repetition. 3 good outcomes feel like momentum. 5 similar behaviors feel like a rule. A short streak gets mistaken for a law. Nothing breaks, nothing explodes, no alarm goes off. You just quietly start committing earlier than you should, trusting sooner than you should, adjusting your behavior to a pattern that hasn't earned authority. Induction doesn't rob you loudly. It convinces you that what you've seen is enough. From that point forward, you stop defending position. You explain, you comply, you anticipate instead of verify. The other side doesn't need to pressure you. They only need to repeat themselves consistently enough. Because once you assume continuity, you stop negotiating terms. You start predicting behavior. And prediction without leverage is exposure. The loss compounds because it feels earned, rational, responsible. You think you're learning. You're actually locking yourself into a false future. And the first mistake is the one nobody sees coming. This is induction, not as a reasoning error, as a leverage distortion that makes short patterns feel permanent and temporary behavior feel predictive. It's how people lose position by trusting trends that haven't survived pressure. You see the same behavior twice, then 3 times, then you relax. In negotiations, someone always responds quickly. In work, a manager usually rewards initiative. In business, a client keeps renewing. So you adjust your posture. You speak more openly. You assume stability. You stop protecting downside. Who benefits? The side that hasn't committed to repeating the behavior under stress. Early repetition feels informative because it reduces uncertainty, but it also removes caution. The cost arrives when conditions change and you're already exposed. You trusted continuity that was never tested. The pattern wasn't real. Your concession was. Someone behaves reliably, so you assume intention. They answer politely. They follow through once or twice. They align verbally. You conclude they're stable. But consistency without constraint is meaningless. People repeat behaviors until it costs them. Induction ignores that breakpoint. Who benefits? Anyone who knows they can change later once you've adjusted. It feels harmless because nothing contradicts the pattern, yet. But when leverage shifts, so does behavior. By then, you're already positioned incorrectly. Stability that hasn't been tested is just unchallenged opportunity. A deal works once. A strategy pays off twice. A hire performs early. So you scale. You commit capital. You expand scope. You raise expectations. Induction turns early success into assumed durability. Who benefits? Anyone selling upside before downside appears. It feels efficient to move fast when evidence looks positive. But speed here is exposure. Later, when variance appears, you're too invested to reverse cleanly. You didn't validate the system. You just rode a lucky sequence. And lucky sequences don't warn before they end. People show you who they are when it's easy. Induction assumes that's enough. You trust calm cooperation as character. You trust generosity without testing boundaries. You trust agreement without conflict. Who benefits? Anyone who plans to change posture once stakes rise. Pressure reveals incentives, not repetition. Induction makes you skip that test. So when pressure arrives, you're shocked. Not because they changed, but because you never checked what would make them change. That surprise is the cost of lazy inference. You stop asking questions because you already know. You stop checking terms. You stop clarifying incentives. You stop confirming assumptions. Why bother? The pattern is clear. Who benefits? The side that now controls information flow. Induction rewards silence and punishes diligence. It feels respectful to trust. It feels smooth to proceed. But verification is leverage maintenance. When you skip it, you're not being efficient. You're being predictable. You treat past behavior as a promise. They've always done it this way. They wouldn't suddenly change. That's how this relationship works. Induction turns history into entitlement. Who benefits? Anyone who never agreed to your expectation. It feels fair to assume continuity, but fairness doesn't enforce behavior. Only leverage does. When the trend breaks, you have no recourse, because you never secured one. Most people think patterns reveal truth. Operators know patterns only reveal possibility. Most people think learning means extrapolating. Operators know learning means stress testing. This isn't about being right. It's about not being cornered. Control comes from optionality, not intensity. And induction kills optionality by locking you into assumed futures. Speed favors the trapped. Delay favors the positioned. Because delay allows patterns to prove themselves or collapse. Operators don't ask, has this happened before? They ask, what would break it? They don't trust repetition. They test incentives. They don't scale early. They wait for pressure points. Because once you assume continuity, you stop defending your exit. And unprotected exits are how position disappears. Most people notice early praise and lean in. They volunteer more. They explain more. They assume momentum. This weakens them. Praise without structural commitment is cheap. It costs nothing to give until promotion time. What to do instead? Let patterns repeat under constraint. See how behavior changes when resources are scarce. Delay assumptions until incentives are visible. Silence here preserves leverage. Urgency exposes it. Early traction convinces people to scale. Founders hire fast. Investors double down. Partners expand terms. Induction creates overextension. Where leverage shifts, when fixed costs rise faster than validated demand. What to do instead? Assume variance, not continuation. Force downside scenarios before expansion. Timing matters more than optimism. Information asymmetry favors the patient. Consistency gets mistaken for loyalty. Availability for attachment. Politeness for alignment. Induction makes you emotionally overcommit. What to do instead? Watch behavior under friction. Set boundaries early and observe response. Withdrawal is a test. Engagement is not. Patterns only matter after resistance. Short patterns are noise, not law. Repetition without cost proves nothing. Ask what would break the pattern. Delay commitments until incentives surface. Never extrapolate before pressure. Verification beats familiarity. Trends don't owe you continuity. Induction isn't a thinking flaw. It's a positioning error. You didn't lose because you were wrong. You lost because you trusted a future that wasn't secured. Power doesn't come from prediction. It comes from not committing to predictions too early. Those who survive longest aren't the best forecasters. They're the best at waiting until patterns are forced to reveal themselves. They don't rush to interpret. They wait to constrain. Because the moment you assume continuity, you surrender the right to renegotiate terms. If you're still watching, thank you for your attention. Attention is the only resource that compounds if you don't spend it cheaply.
Thanks for spending time with us. If this sparked a new way of thinking, hit like and subscribe to keep the ideas flowing. And don't forget, check the description for the links to the original books and resources we used today. We'll see you in the next one.